Are you look good. I don't see any blood gushing. Okay, perfect. All right,
I didn't even have to hit her.
That is perfect for everybody to know. That's one of your biggest safety hazards today. It's the overhead bins. We're gonna make this quick and painless. So my name is Missy. I'm your driver and guide today. It's my 10-year Alaska-versary. I'm stoked to be here with you. Oh, thank you. We're gonna use the front door today. Does that sound okay to everybody?
Yes.
All right, if there's an emergency, the back door is available. We're not gonna need it, but it's there. We also have some emergency exit windows. You'll know those because they have that red lever. If you don't see in colors, they have a lever. The other ones don't. If you want to open your windows today, if you see an animal or something, you have to throw it back to elementary school. And for a lot of us on this bus, that was a long time ago. So we're going to go ahead. Hey, I'm including myself there. We're going to push in on those 2 black tabs and pull the window down. Push in on the black tabs and pull it up. It's not about strength, it's about finesse. All right, other things for you to know. There is a big old first aid kit up here. Everybody get eyes on that. If we get eyes on it, we don't need it. There's a fire extinguisher up here in the front of the bus, so that's available. And if for any reason I cannot get to my radio, folks in the front of the bus, I need you to look at this. The radio is right here. Grab onto it, click on this button. It's already connected. Dispatch is there. Everybody got that?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. That has happened in the case of emergencies in the past, so I just want you all to know where that radio is if I need to be off the bus doing other things. Okay, other than that, there are roof hatches. We're not going to need those. I've got the heaters going. Other things for you to know. I've got a bunch of waters up here in the front of the bus. People get dehydrated up here, and come on guys, sometimes people come to Alaska and they decide that that's the best time to stop taking the medication that they've been taking for the last 15 years. Not a good idea. We're gonna stay hydrated. We don't want our blood pressure to drop. So the water is in the front of the bus. Grab one anytime you're on or off the bus. I've got a trash right up here. I'll demonstrate how that works. This is a trash bag. Trash goes right inside, just like that. Sometimes people aren't sure, so I give a little demo. And then with all of these cans of water or anything recyclable, we've got this fancy recycle bag right here at the front of the bus.
I'm gonna walk up and down the aisle and collect.
No, you don't have to walk up and down the aisle. You're not paid to be a flight attendant today. Okay. Every single seat on the bus has a seatbelt. You're required by federal law to wear a seatbelt. Sound okay?
Sounds good.
All right, if you decide not to wear your seatbelt and I slam on my brakes for a moose, which has happened, and you're not wearing your seatbelt, you fly to your seat. It's so sad you made that choice. It was the wrong one. Okay, let's get going.
You want to take your seatbelt?
We've got a lot of dinosaur action in this park, which is kind of wild, but we had our northernmost dinosaurs on planet Earth here in Alaska, and in Denali especially. We had a lot of those. So we'll chat about that as the day goes on. But these are stories of what it means to be a human. These are stories of survival, of our own heritage in a place like this. So we're going to explore those stories. And really, it's just my hope as the day goes on that these stories remind us to protect this place. This park was first designated in 1917. Folks back then, objectively, I think, had it way harder than you and I will probably ever have it. We have struggles in our lives just like they did, but things were really, really tough in 1917. Yeah, check out the river.
Wow.
This is my 10th year up here, just like I mentioned, and this is the most ice I've seen on the Nenana River at this time of year. We actually had one of the coldest winters on record. If somebody else didn't tell you that, let me be the first. One of the coldest winters on record. So, as we get back to it, folks had it pretty tough in 1917, and they believed that this place was worth protecting for you and I. So they came here, they established this park. These are stories of hunters, these are stories of mountaineers, these are goofy Alaska sourdough stories. So we'll chat about some of those, but they remind us to protect this place, just like everyone from 1917 protected it for you and I today. And then it's also my hope that these stories remind us to reconnect with our own little humanity. What do I mean by that? To be a human's tough. You don't need me to tell you that. On this bus today, we contain the full spectrum of humanity. We have all experienced the highs and the lows of what it means to be a human. We bring everything with us. We bring our joys and our grief and our sorrow. It all comes with us everywhere that we go. And in 6 million acres, there's room for that. So it's my hope today that as we reconnect with a place like this, and all it takes is using our senses. We're humans, we have senses. So today, that could happen just in a moment. You know, it might happen when you're looking at Mount Healy in front of us and you can see that snow kind of reflecting in the sunlight. It could happen when you hear the wind out on the open tundra. It might happen when you listen to birdsong, or maybe you'll grab a little twig or a little a spruce needle off of these spruce trees, and you'll rub it in your fingers and smell that fresh smell. This is how we reconnect with our humanities, through our body, through our senses. So hopefully that happens. It's not a guarantee, but I hope it for all of us today. And then let me tell you a little bit about logistics. Bathrooms, the most important question. They're every hour to hour and a half. We're coming up on the first area that you could use a bathroom if you want to. These are going to range from luxury accommodations like running water with flushing toilets. That's available here in this building that we're going to go to. Most of these bathrooms are pit toilets today. They're still pretty clean. It's the beginning of the season. They're not bad. They're not bad, and it's cold outside. So, I mean, I'd highly recommend. But I just want you to know that. So bathrooms about every hour to hour and a half. First possibility is coming right up. Other things for you to know, this tour is going to be probably about 4.5 to 5 hours. And we're going to be on and off the bus. I understand everybody has different levels of mobility. You know, you might have had a tough travel day yesterday. I know that we've all got stuff going on. Totally fine with me. If you need to stay on the bus anytime you want, you're more than welcome to. So feel free, but also we're never going to walk more than about a quarter mile, and that will be at the Savage Cabin. So just kind of be aware of those things. Normally we don't pull into this side, but because it's so early in the season, they let us know that this is where they want us to go. So if I seem unsure, for this week I am, until they put us on our correct side. Alright, so as we pull in here, this is actually the Denali Bus Depot. It used to be the Wilderness Access Center, kind of a better name, same building. This used to be the Historic Visitor Center, but they've outgrown it. So today we're going to stop here, and this is primarily where people get on their transit buses to go out into the national park. Just one moment. I'm going to ask Easton if maybe they want me on a different side. And what are we doing here? We're going to go inside and watch a short film called Across Time and Tundra. So it's going to give us an awesome intro to this park, to what we're going to experience. And that film is going to be, I think it's 17 or 18 minutes long. We're also going to travel in pods today. So it looks like my pod partner, his name is Brian. He's not quite here yet, and that's fine. What I want you to know is we're not going to pick fights with his bus, because we're going to see them at every single stop today. So it's not going to be a one and done. We're going to behave ourselves. And at this point, I'm pretty sure that they are out of their movie. Let me see what Easton says.
Do this the entire summer without a microphone. So, thank you. All right. For those of you that are not on my bus, my name is Brian. For those of you not on her bus, her name is Missy.
Morning.
We love working together. What did we work together last year? Like
All the time.
every day, basically. So we've got each other's backs, and you guys have each other's backs as well. So we're rolling as one big happy family today. You'll be seeing us at each other's stops, but make sure you get in the correct bus unless you really hate what we're talking about. You know, you don't like my political talk, whatever. Missy, how many spots do you have?
I've got, we could squeeze 2 in.
2 in. All right, there we go. So 2 people can bail on me. In any case, I'll digress from that. I just want to do a quick, brief intro here to Denali National Park and Preserve. We're honored to have you. You do have the former park ranger tour here. This is the only 2 people that you can claim to have that together. So we have some governmental work experience as well. But here we are in the private sector to tell you about this park. But really, to give a baseline of this park, we're going to show you this film. It's called Across Time and Tundra. It's 17 minutes and I think 47 seconds long. And that is going to be a really good introduction to what this park has been. We'll be here today to see what it is now. And then we're going to have a discussion about what it can be in the future, depending on how we treat it while we're here. When this is done, I'm going to hand it over to Missy here. She's going to give you all the logistics to succeed and get back to the bus whilst using the last flush restroom that we'll see for the next several hours.
Yes. Okay. So as soon as the film is wrapped up, I want you to look at your timepiece. I don't care if it's a watch. I don't care if it's your cell phone. Give yourself 10 minutes. 10 minutes goes quickly, right? So there are a couple of things you might want to do. You might want to use the bathrooms. We would highly recommend it if you love running water and flushing toilets. The way that you're going to do that, don't go out the door that we came in. You're going to run into 100 other people. So go out the back of the theater, and if you want the bathrooms, take a left and a left. Lots of stalls, lots of hand washing stations. You know, you can gird your loins and get ready to go in the park where there's no hand washing. Other things for you, if you need to buy a coffee, if you need to buy a snack or something. I told my tour, not sure if Brian told his, this tour is going to be like 4 and a half hours?
Yeah, it could even be 5.
It could even be 5. It could even be 5. You never know what happens today. So plan on being out in the park that long. If you need a snack, a drink, something like that, make it snappy. If you need your national parks passport stamped, that is not your international passport. We've seen people back there trying to stamp their U.S. international passport book. That's not going to go well. This is just that little souvenir book if you want it. That's out at the kiosk in the middle of that area. So it's like this 8-sided table. Do you know how many sides it has?
7 sides.
7 sides. 7-sided table out in the middle of that area out there. Am I missing? What am I missing? We're going to meet back at the buses over to the right side. They might be pulled forward. We're not quite sure yet. But either way, Brian and I are going to be out there. We'll kind of direct traffic. We'll let you know. Do you guys remember your bus or your tour number?
108.
All right, mine's 108. Brian.
107. Really easy to remember.
Okay, so you should see that out there and around. You should see me and Brian. Is there anything I'm missing?
I think you're good.
I think we're good. Let's do it.
National Park. So her print was a theropod, a 3-toed dinosaur. Very common in this area. And even since I first got here, 10 years ago, what year is it? Yeah, 10 years ago. They have learned so much about the dinosaurs, and they have found so many footprints and even a fossil in this national park. We have an incredibly well-preserved footprint record. And what's really amazing is that this park kind of works in coordination with the North Slope of Alaska, where they tend to find actual fossils. In this park, we don't find so many fossils, but what's fascinating is that we have found footprints and claw marks and tail drags from dinosaurs that we have not yet found fossils for. Pretty amazing. And these dinosaurs, they've learned so much even since I was a kid. They assume that these dinosaurs must have had feathers or something to keep them insulated. They would have been warm-blooded. And what's fascinating is that even back then, 70 million years ago, the place that Denali would have been on the planet, because remember, these plates, the North American plate, for example, these plates moved around, and they do move. That's why we have earthquakes and volcanoes. But they have measured, they've kind of made these predictions that where we are right now in Denali, this actually would have been much further north than it is now. And the planet would have been warmer back then, but they predict, or they assume, based on their climate models, that these dinosaurs would have been polar dinosaurs because they still would have had to live in snow conditions. Absolutely fascinating. So a lot of that research happens here in Denali, and really that's speaking to the story of deep time. You and I, we are here for a day. Maybe you visited before, maybe you'll come back. Our stories matter in this park as well, but we're also dealing with deep time from over 70 million years ago. This is a long story, and it really speaks to our place in it. We are here for just but a moment, but a blip out in this national park. But we carry, these are layered stories. Stories of times of dinosaurs, stories of the ice ages, stories of today. All right, so we are about to make our next stop, and this is going to be the longest walk you can go on today. You don't have to do the whole thing. I understand we all have different levels of mobility. Some of you have been telling me about your joints. I hear you. I hear you. And as someone who will also be getting a joint replaced next year, I understand. In my own way. You've got years on me, and I respect it. I salute it. But with that being said, take it easy getting on and off the bus. You know, there's no rush today. What we're going to do here is, this is such a good opportunity for us to walk through the boreal forest. If you have a jacket, definitely bring it, because it's probably going to be a little bit chillier up here than it was down low at park headquarters. First of all, there are bathrooms. So when we get off the bus, this is your incredible opportunity to use some pit toilets. They're going to be off to the right side, and we're going to do a plant talk and a cabin talk here. At this stop, first things first, go use the bathrooms. They'll be down the pathway to the right side. You're going to wait right past that. There's a sign that says wait for driver. It might say driver or guide. It says wait for driver or guide here. And just like the sign says, you are going to wait for a driver or guide there. Driver or guide is going to be Brian today. He is going to do the plant talk, and you're lucky because, listen, I'm not arrogant enough to know or believe that I have a better plant talk than Brian. Nobody has any bears here. We had bears on the trail. Brian and I, we were partnered together, and that was a mom and 2 cubs. Not a good look. So we could see bears anytime today. Let's talk about it. First of all, moose are the most dangerous animal in Alaska. What do we do if we see moose? Does anybody know? We run, exactly. You run, you walk away. We're not going to sit there and take photos. I've watched 2 people get trampled by moose in Denali in my time. I'm not going to watch it today. Please just run away, right? Or walk away, wheel away, however you have to do it, just get away. They're very aggressive and they're ornery creatures. Okay, with bears, we never run from bears. They're predators, right? So we're never going to run from predators. We're going to stand our ground. Regardless of the situation, we're going to stand our ground. We're big, we're loud, we're mean. Hey bear, leave me alone! Right? You can tell I've come face to face with bears in the backcountry here many times. So we're big, we're mean. I'm standing my ground. If that bear's walking toward me, I don't care. I'm standing my ground because I have to train that bear. If it's being naughty, I have to train it. This is not the move. Now, the exception is if you can tell that a bear is aggressive, they tell you with their body language. So if this is a mama with cubs, we do want to give her space, right? But if it's just a curious bear, they're poking around, they're seeing if they can kind of, you know, they're giving you the side eye a little bit. Sometimes you can see that. They're like, oh, I'm just looking in the snow. That you can tell they're curious. That's when we're big and mean. We're standing our ground. Does that make sense? Okay, we never run from predators. We run from prey. Okay, so we're going to get out the bus. There's going to be a pathway back behind us to the right. Go use the bathrooms, and you'll meet Brian there for the plant talk where it says wait for tour guide here. Okay, please let me know. I'm surprised that you guys even survived as long as you did with the heater on like that. I apologize. I've got my own ecosystem up here. So the heater is off, and if you need a little bit more cool, crack a window. That'd be a good way to go about that. And at this juncture, is anybody missing their friends, their family, their spouse?
I tried to get rid of her.
You tried to get rid of her. I commend that. It's tough.
Thanks a lot.
It's tough you didn't make it through. It's not personal, it's business. Oh yeah, but we want him to pass us up, because if there's any wildlife, I want him to find it. And then we kind of roll up on it, right? Hopefully you enjoyed getting some of that fresh air. It is fresh here. I don't know if you've noticed. I don't know where you come from. Some of you folks have asked me where I'm from. I'm from Utah. I grew up in the Salt Lake Valley, and they notoriously have terrible air, especially in the winter. And when I'm here, it feels so good on my lungs. So let's continue on, and up ahead of us, we're going to see a new mountain. So Mount Healy is to the right. In front of us, it's Mount Margaret. And right between those 2 mountains is the Savage River. So that's why the Savage Cabin is named the Savage Cabin. Other cabins in the park are also named after rivers or locations that they're close by. Examples, Sanctuary for the Sanctuary River. We've got the Igloo Cabin, it's by Igloo Creek, so on and so forth. So usually they're named after rivers or water sources. But we're going to continue on up here, and you're starting to get a really good look at how this transition zone between the boreal forest and the tundra is kind of starting to break way to the tundra. And I also want you to know, throughout your journey in Alaska, you might hear the word taiga. Taiga and boreal forest, same thing. Taiga in Russian, some translations say that it means land of little sticks. I don't speak Russian, so I'm not going to confirm or deny, but some translations say that that's what that means. So some of you were talking about how these trees are so small. Yeah, it's the land of little sticks. And let's have everybody scan left, right, high, low, near, far. If Brian's looking at something, we want to look at it too. Probably ptarmigan or something.
Tell you where it is.
Oh, there's little snowshoe hare right here in the snow. Look at that, over to the right side. Laying down, that is cute. I'll just do a slow roll here. Here you go, person in the front of the bus. I'm giving you a moment before I slow roll. So notice how that snowshoe hare has these really long back feet. Those are the snowshoes. And this is the favorite animal or favorite food of the lynx. I'm just going to kind of slowly roll, so some of you folks in the back, if you want a photo, grab it.
There's several around the lodge.
Several? Oh yeah, one of them just ran across the road behind us. So I'll kind of just go slow through this area. I wonder if maybe that's what Brian's bus was looking at. They could have been looking over to the right side. Look, it looks like somebody's life ended right there. Maybe a ptarmigan, that's what it looks like. So somebody got eaten over to the right side. You can see all that right next to the road. You can see all of those feathers. So that could be an ermine, could be a red fox, could be a lynx. Denali is the kind of place where, especially for folks who are birders or hunters, you folks have trained yourselves how to look for sign, how to look for scats, how to look for tracks out here, or just to be observant. And the rest of us, we can also build that skill. It's just a skill set. So these are kind of the things that we're noticing. That was not there a couple days ago, so I'm like, some predator was around here. Over to our left side, somebody asked, is that a river next to us? Yes. So the Savage River is out there to the left. And here's the thing about rivers in Denali, is that they're not going to look like what you would expect of a river. Sometimes people ask me, Missy, is the water really low? And it's because these are braided rivers. There is so much silt and sediment in these rivers that sediment builds up and it forms different channels. And then sometimes those channels get clogged. You know, water just wants to take the path of least resistance. So when a channel gets clogged, the water is just going to carve a new path. That's easiest. So when you see rivers in Alaska, you might see some braided rivers, like a braid in somebody's hair. And right now, a lot of these rivers are probably still going to be pretty frozen. So while we're sitting here waiting for the go from the construction workers, this is a great time to kind of look all around you, regardless of what side of the bus you're on. Oh, this is Bear. He's one of our drivers over to the left side. As you look around, you're starting to see a lot of these different landscape features in Denali National Park. And we talked about 70 million years ago. We talked about the dinosaurs that used to walk around this area. But much more recently, we had the last ice ages. And here in the interior of Alaska, you are about as close to those ice ages as you could be anywhere on Earth. What do I mean by that? So that was called the Pleistocene epoch, the last ice ages. That was about 10,000 to 2 million years ago. And we see evidence of those ice ages all around us today. So whether it's the snow that's out on the mountains, if we could see Denali, McKinley, the high one, the great one, we would see the glaciers out there. But as you folks travel through Alaska, that's what's so cool about what you're doing, is you're going to so many parts of this huge state that you're going to see these ice age remnants all around you. Whether it's the glaciers, some of which have 10,000-year-old ice that came down from ice caps, like the Harding ice field or the Juneau ice field. You folks are going to see that, but also a lot of the animals that folks hope to see, whether it's in Denali or in Alaska in general, they're actually leftovers from those last ice ages. This megafauna, so big animals that lived out here during that time. So we're thinking saber-toothed cats and short-nosed bears. We're thinking woolly mammoths, giant sloths, but also animals like grizzly bears or wolves, wolverines. Moose, they were at the very, very end of the ice ages. But all of these animals adapted to survive during these harsh, freezing conditions. And we know the result in that. As the planet has warmed even since 10,000 years ago, that's why things like saber-toothed cats went extinct, or short-nosed bears went extinct, woolly mammoths. And those are for various reasons, but climate was the main reason for a lot of those extinctions. But we've still got these leftovers who were able to adapt and survive. And they're still up here in Alaska, and sometimes in other places in the country. Things like caribou and doll sheep. So we're seeing these ice age relics, these living ice age relics, whether it's the glaciers, whether it's the animals in this park. And again, we've just added another layer to our story of deep time in this park. And remember, we've got such a tiny little place in all of this. It looks like there is a little, a gull over to the right side. They look like seagulls, but they're called mewgulls, M-E-W, short-billed gulls. I know they don't look that special or important. You might see those where you live or something close to it, but that mewgull was pining for the days when she could lay her eggs right there on the river bar. Those days are going to be late this year. Gosh, look at that gorgeous view out to the left. By the way, some of you ask me, Missy, are we driving out the same road we came in? Yes. So if you're feeling deprived, because you didn't get to see the best sights in your opinion, you're going to be on, seeing the opposite view on the way out of here.
That's nice.
Okay, my guess is that Brian's bus is probably looking at more ptarmigan. They're giving us quite a show today. But we'll scan, because maybe it's something else. We never know. It looks like they're looking to the left. Oh, it's an Arctic ground squirrel. Okay, so we're looking on the left side. Look on this little hill next to us. There's a goofy little Arctic ground squirrel standing up. It looks like a prairie dog. He's waving. Okay, so I'm going to park right here. Look straight out to our left side.
Yes. That is so cute. Look at him. He's like,
yeah. All right, you are seeing one of the most important species in Denali National Park right now. I'm 100% serious. We'll chat about this. Definitely, I think they're the most charismatic critters in Denali. There's a debate among the drivers. We're deciding between Arctic ground squirrels and ptarmigan. I'm on Team Arctic ground squirrel. Posing for you. So folks, these little goofballs are the best hibernators in Denali National Park. They can hibernate up to 8 months, and they'll lose a third of their body weight. Their temperature actually goes below freezing. It drops below freezing, which is wild. So they actually study Denali's Arctic ground squirrels specifically because they are able to let their body temperature drop below below freezing. All right, we're gonna slowly roll. We're getting the little critter tour today, and I'm not gonna complain about that.
that bus just missed that. Yeah, they just drove right on by.
So Arctic ground squirrels, they are actually a keystone species in Denali National Park. And as someone who has seen all of the major animals in Denali, you know, over many years, I've seen all these major animals. I'm going to put a pin in that. Left side of the bus, we've got, it looks like a ptarmigan for you. So let's get you your little ptarmigan sighting right here. Because I know you guys haven't had one yet. This looks like a male.
There's another ground squirrel right ahead.
Another ground squirrel on the left ahead as well. Okay, so I'm going to stop right here for the ptarmigan. And that way, left side of the bus, you've got your moment, your time to shine.
It's white and brown,
White and brown, yep.
and it's just sitting. Did you hear that?
I didn't hear it.
Yeah.
Good eating, yeah, yep, they actually are. They are.
Foxes love them.
The foxes love that. Listen, let's talk about who likes to eat a ptarmigan or a ground squirrel.
Everybody.
Everybody. The answer is everybody. If you want to see red foxes, if you want to see wolves, if you want to see lynx, if you want to see wolverines, if you want to see grizzly bears, these are the critters you want to see. So those of you who brought your binoculars, you're going to glass the landscape. A great time to start is now, if you're on the right side of the bus. If you're on the left side, also a great time to start. Because now we're getting much, much bigger views. So over to the right side, this is the time that we could start looking for doll sheep up on the mountains. They're going to look like tiny white dots. It's going to be tough in the winter or the end of winter. We're getting huge views. So let me give you a little exercise. You can do it or not, doesn't matter to me. I know sometimes prickle up at that. You don't have to do it. But let's say I was to start walking across the tundra right now. If you guys look out at about 10 o'clock, do you guys see how there are those two foothills that almost serve as a gateway for the Savage River?
Yes.
There are 2 foothills, and then there's kind of that valley between. If you were to start walking, imagine how many miles you think that would take. I'm going to slow down for this one more ptarmigan for left side of the bus, but I see 2 more up ahead of us on the road. Look at this big boy to the left. Yeah, somebody said he's the opposite of a bald eagle. That's hilarious. Much less regal. Oh, they are funny. All right, we'll keep rolling. Looks like they are all out to play today. That is so fun. Okay, so you're looking at those mountains out to the left side. In your mind, or out loud, doesn't matter to me, how many miles do you think it would take for you to walk to the base of those foothills?
20.
20? It's a good guess. 10? Okay, you guys are actually really good at this. Yeah, it would take you probably about 10 to 12 miles to walk from right here to the base of those foothills out to the left. Distance and scale, at least from me, is so warped in Denali. There are more. Okay, right side of the bus, you can see the difference. Male is on the left up. Oh, he just flew away. Female ran into the trees. We'll let him go. So in 6 million acres, it's really tough to understand distance and scale because we are dealing with so much space and there aren't any human structures out there to measure it against. So this is part of what is so magical about Denali, is that this is actually a designated wilderness. Anywhere off the road, if I were to, tell you today is my last day, it's my first day on the job and I quit, I say get off the bus, this bus is driving to Mexico, you're with me or you're against me. And you're like, no, we came to Alaska, so let's say you get off the bus and you walk off into the tundra. As soon as you're off in the tundra, you are in designated wilderness with a capital W. That has the highest protection of any designated land in the United States. So you're not allowed to hunt in wilderness, you can't use chainsaws in wilderness or motorized vehicles, but we've got this exception here with the road. And this road predates the Wilderness Act. That is why you are doing something so rare and unique and something you can't really do anywhere else. And that is driving through a wilderness. For some of you folks, this might be the closest wilderness experience you've ever had in your lifetime. So we're gonna slowly head up to Primrose. We also call it Inspiration Point. And when we go up there, that's gonna be our last stop, our final stop of the day. Up there, we've got some cultural interpreters, because another one of the stories of this park is the story of the native folks. We know that humans have been living in Alaska for a minimum of 14,000 years. And we know that based off of artifacts that we found. They've actually found Clovis points in and around Denali National Park. These ancient peoples who lived out here. Their DNA has been directly, or the DNA of modern Native Alaskans has been connected to the DNA of folks in Russia and in Asia. So that's our evidence that these folks came from those areas. Up at Inspiration Point, this is an area where they have found artifacts from the native people. And something that one of the archaeologists in the park taught me years ago, this was even before my backcountry ranger days, was that if you find a campsite that you would like, the ancient people would have liked it too, right? And that's the funny thing, is that on accident, we end up camping and enjoying the exact same spots that ancestors from thousands of years ago enjoyed as well, whether that's in Alaska, the lower 48, or in any other country. You know, we humans have a tendency to love the same places. So we'll come up here and you get to hear from one of our native interpreters, maybe James or Shirley or Makeo or Ellen, and they're going to share a little bit about their culture. You know, these folks are from Alaska. All right, everybody do a quick scan, left, right, high, low, near, far. We're looking far away on the landscape, we're looking close by. They could be doing a scenery stop, and it actually kind of looks that way to me. So I'm just gonna slowly roll, because they're starting to see some of those lower mountains in the Alaska Range to the left side. If Denali, McKinley, the high one, the great one, if any of that were visible, we would see it at about 9 o'clock right now. But we are getting the typical day in this park. By the way, one of you folks asked, or a few of you asked me if I would chat about, you know, the name and the change, Denali, McKinley, the mountain. Yeah, there's a really fascinating history around them, and I have found last year specifically, because that's when that executive order came into play, to go back to the McKinley name. I found that I think the best way to talk about this is just by telling you the timeline. You know, the timeline of the flipping, flopping back and forth. And I'm going to bury the lead on this story. My prediction is that more flipping and flopping is in the future. If the past has taught us anything, I think more flipping and flopping of names in this park is probably going to happen. That's the great thing about making predictions, is we might not know. Alright, just beautiful views all around today. Okay, they're not looking at anything. He's giving them a scenery moment, and it is gorgeous out there if anybody wants to take photos out to the left or the right. Take it away. and he might see that the tours ahead of us, they might be like a minute or two held up. So I reckon that that's probably why he stopped, so that we can give ourselves or give them some time to get back to their. It was very short-lived. She, you know, she was a bad in the good way. I'm trying not to use expletives. She was a bad A, if you will. She is out there in this national park, and she was, you know, making pies using bear fat, or bear fat lard. She was picking the blueberries and making blueberry pies for all the guys out there. And she dedicated her life to this place. Even after that gold rush in Kantishna collapsed, she stayed out in this national park. So somebody was asking, can we get close to that place that Fanny Q was? Not unless you fly to it nowadays, because we had that landslide that was in 2021 that cut off the majority of this park road. So if you didn't hear about that, I've kind of alluded to it a couple of times. Long story short, the permafrost is thawing. Back when not only the Alaska Road Commission, but later the Civilian Conservation Corps made this road, they wanted it to be in the coolest viewpoints. They had no idea that if they made that road along cliff edges, those cliff edges might collapse as things got warmer, and that's what's happened. So there was this massive landslide. I actually drove that the last day that it was possible, and I tell you, it was very scary. It didn't feel good. You know, there were days that rocks were falling towards you, and I viscerally remember one day that one of the construction workers was screaming outside of the bus, "Go, go, go, go!" It didn't feel great, but long story short, they have been building a bridge for the last 6 years. And it's, well, I guess 5 years now, but it'll be 6 years when it's open next year. So that is when you can access the place that Fanny lady was.
She died all by herself, they said.
Yeah, somebody said she lived all by herself. Yep. You know, she divorced her husband, Joe Quigley, and you know, it sounds like it was good for both of them. Some of us know how that goes. It was good for both of them. This is Shirley. Oh, you are so lucky to have her. All right, so she will be giving you your interpretive presentation.
Hey, Shirley, you look wonderful.
Thank you. They're gonna make he's gonna make a V kind of.
Okay, are we gonna be being this way or this way?
They're mostly doing this way.
I'll follow his lead.
Yeah, whatever
Awesome.
he does.
I'll try and get in as
either way is good.
I'll try to get in as tight as I can.
Okay,
Awesome. It's so good to see you.
Okay, so Shirley's going to share a bit about her culture, and she is just an absolute legend out here. So she'll chat with you folks, and then you absolutely have time. Go use the restrooms. If you want to wander around, go for it. If you want to post hole, out to the right side and check out the views out here, you're more than welcome to do it. It looks like they might have even plowed a little bit of this to the right side. Not much, but if you want a post hole out there to the right, you are more than welcome to. Huh.
All right. Thank you, Missy. Good morning.
Morning.
Welcome to Primrose Ridge, or some people call this place Inspiration Point. And if you walk, it will be cleared out over there in snow. You can walk all the way out, and there is the point. You can see all over in the valleys, up in the mountains. And I believe the Otna Athabascan people hunt from that point. So you guys that hunt, the ladies that hunt, you can see that's a good spot. But it's also, if you just stand there, take a breath, look out at what you see. Might hear a bird, might hear the wind, might hear a bus. You guys are the only tours coming up today. This is my second presentation. The beginning of the season is today for us. But my name is Shirley May Holmberg. I'm 74 years old. The name I was given as an adult female is Yindadlano. I was born in a village a long time ago. It was known as Hohododakatlen. that means something about where the willows grow. Today the village is known as Tanana, Alaska. Our people are matrilineal people, so the clan that I come from is called Tonitza Galsina. That roughly translated to English means I come from the middle people. In my mother's way, we only recognized 3 clans a long time ago. One was the Tonitza Galsina. We lived in the middle of the Yukon River on an island. On one side of us was the Notsin, the Bear Clan. The other side of us was the Bidzikta-Tana. I know a lot about our culture, our history, and for those of you that are near my age, we sure know a lot, don't we? And we're continuing to know more. Anyway, there's 4 of us up here today. We have 2 young people that are training, but they can hold their own. If I just walked away, they could do a program. But they're going to go ahead and introduce themselves and then take back over and present. Okay?
Hello, I'm Corbin Joseph. I'm also Koyukon Athabascan. I'm from the Caribou Clan. I was born and raised in Fairbanks, Alaska, but I'm most frequent in Rampart, Alaska on the Yukon, about 2 hours upriver from Tanana.
Hi, my name is James L. Grant. I'm also Koyukon Athabascan. My native name that was given to me is Ya, and that means anything Scotty or uplifting.
My name is Jenna. I'm not Koyukon. I'm from Western Alaska on the Yukon River. I'm Yupik. My native name is Manitouli, or for short, Munuk. That's a term of endearment among our people. I grew up in Homer, but I spent my summers fishing, hunting, and picking berries for my family on the Yukon River. They're called the Munuk.
Thank you guys. Appreciate you guys being here. They just kind of mill around, and if you have questions after I'm done, then we'll be around and to visit with them. And I'll go ahead and take over. So, we take turns when we're out there. Like today, we only have 6 tours. And 100 people at a time. Buses are full, right? And we have, do the last one of the morning. And then we have one, no, we have one more. And then the afternoon we have one more. We just kind of take turns so our voices don't give out. And we have the 2 new ones, Jenna and Corwin, but they have their own program. They can hold their own if they were left up here by themselves. So, what do I have to tell you? Sometimes what you see and what you hear means more than you realize. Take, for instance, that big, beautiful mountain. It's in that direction over there, and it makes its own weather, so sometimes you see it and sometimes you don't. Somebody went and named that mountain Mount McKinley after President McKinley. He was from Ohio. He had never been to Alaska. To my people, the mountain's known as Denali, the great one or the high one. There's another mountain near Denali named after Senator Foraker. He was from Ohio too. To our people, the mountain's known as Denali Ba'at. Denali Ba'at is Denali's wife. So we know the mountains as husband and wife, not 2 big rocks named after Ohio farmers. Nothing against Ohio. I learned that in the 1920s they were naming landmarks, mountains, rivers, streams, and back then that's when those mountains were named. And to us, we've always known it as Denali, the Great One. We have a lot of stories about mountains. One of them is these mountains that you see here were once waves in a large body of water. And the raven is in a lot of our stories. The raven wanted to marry a beautiful woman, but she didn't want to marry him. So he killed her. And he took off in his canoe, and her male relatives followed him because they were going on against him. The raven was paddling away, He had his spear. He took his spear and he aimed it at the largest wave. Once it hit that wave, once it hit that wave, all of the other mountains formed. So if you look out there, you might see some waves. We sing a song about the mountain also. We sing potlatches. Potlatches could be a memorial for someone that had passed on. 10 years later, whenever the family is ready to go home. Or it could be a funeral potlatch. We might have a potlatch for a young man that comes first. We might have got a rabbit. But he would have to learn how to skin the rabbit. He would have to learn how to butcher it and cook it. And his family would have to make a potlatch at a tribal home. And all of the meat from that little rabbit he'd give to elderly people. Cooked rabbit meat. But there'd be other food. So they'd celebrate that occasion in hopes that the young man would be a lucky hunter. Potlatches, we sing songs, we dance, we drum. We mourn as a way of mourning, you know, at the funerals. And the song that we sing about Denali is a happy song. It's a drum song. It's a dance song. You guys like to hear it? Yeah. All right. So when we're at a potlatch, our men are always in the center when we dance. The late starts. There was a time when women didn't sing, women could dance, they cannot drum. Even now, it's a rare occasion you see a woman. But I do an interpretation to show you guys how the men dance. I would never do this in front of my own people. So I show you how my interpretation of a man dance. And I do pretty good because I've been dancing since I was pretty young, going to potlatches since I was about 14. But you guys, when you're at a potlatch, don't be afraid to just jump out in the middle with the men. We don't ever turn people away. We participate in whatever we're doing. Up here, we do that. So you guys, when you dance, it looks to me like you're going hunting because you guys are always hunting, fishing, trapping. And you look something like this. You're looking up, down. Every once in a while you do a little hop. I have no idea what the hop is. So you guys want to try that? You'll never do this unless you show your kids or your grandkids or every little hop. You can hop. I'm 74, so I had to practice hopping. be shy up here. You don't know half these people. Just act any old way you want. Just act like yourself. Our dance is easy, ladies. The motion that we make is set the spirits. There's another dance we do, and it's like this. And it's the morning song. And this motion calls spirits. There's another thing they tell us women that sew, at night, don't sew past 8 o'clock. Because the motion you make, you sew material together or something. It calls spirits. We stop at 8 o'clock. Because you don't want spirits bothering you at night, right? So this song is a drum song. And traditionally our women never drum. It's a man's job to drum. Why do I have a drum? Because I'm the elder and I can drum. Some young people gave me a drum. And they were honoring me. They were honoring me. They had me fly all the way to Portland, Oregon. And we went to a school called Chamawa. But they were honoring me, I think I was maybe 44 or 45. But they looked at me as their elder. They were kids I worked with. But they had me fly all the way down there. This is one of the gifts. The other elders that were present were like 64, 74, and 84. They were sisters. And here I am, dressed in my outfit. Anyway, this is a man's job, but I'll demonstrate. I wouldn't do this in front of my people. I don't mind you guys videoing. So when you hear a drum, they say it synchronizes heartbeats, and it sounds like. So, do I have a man out here that wants to come up and drum? Because I have to sing and dance. Bruce is going to drum today. If Bruce has family here, go ahead and video.
up here and get these big, open, expansive views. And this is our turnaround point. So we're heading back toward the entrance. Plan on this taking, you know, anywhere from about an hour to an hour and a half, but usually we're closer to the hour range. Goes a little bit faster on the way out. And keep those eyes peeled, because there are definitely moose out there in this area. There are probably grizzly bears out as well. I highly doubt we'll see them. This is a really tough modeled landscape, as you can see, as the snow starts to melt. It makes it really tough to spot wildlife, because they're going to kind of go to those modeled areas unless they're traveling across the snow. So let's just keep our eyes out. Sounds like a lot of you already saw moose. Is there anybody who did not see a moose in Alaska already? Okay, there's a good chunk of you. All right, we'll keep our eyes peeled.
Go to the visitor center.
We're in great moose habitat the entire tour. Their primary food source is willow. I'm not sure if Brian mentioned that to you folks when he was doing the plant talk, but we're gonna be in great moose habitat. And a couple of you folks asked me about the name, so let's just chat about that. Let me tell you the history of the Denali McKinley thing. What's all that? So we've talked about how this is a place that is layered in stories, and what I have found over the years is that the name of this place is so much a part of the history and that story. So originally, this place was called Denali, and that was for the mountain. You know, sometimes folks will tell me the original name was McKinley. Nope, because people have been here for 14,000 years. So for hundreds of years, different tribes in the region, including the Athabaskan, the Koyukon Yukon, the Dene, other folks, referred to that mountain as different names, but Denali, which means the high one, the great one. So that was actually the original name. And then, of course, we get folks who come up here during the gold rush especially. So during this time, then presidential candidate, I wanted to say Andrew Jackson, but that's not Jackson, it's William McKinley. So he's a presidential candidate, and he is running for presidency on the gold standard, and his opponent is running on the silver standard. You can imagine that gold miners in Alaska want William McKinley to win the presidency, because he's going to make gold the standard upon which our currency is set, right? This is a history that a lot of folks don't realize. So, some of the gold miners, one in particular named William Dickey, he starts calling that mountain Mount McKinley because he wants William McKinley to win the presidency. William McKinley does win the presidency. I don't remember if he had 2 terms, but he's later assassinated. He's one of the presidents that was assassinated. And the park becomes named McKinley National Park. That was in 1917. So this becomes McKinley National Park. But here's what's interesting. Charles Sheldon, the gentleman hunter, the guy who lobbied Congress for 10 years to turn this into a protected space, and Harry Karstens, our first superintendent, they wrote letters to Congress before this park became a park. They said this place needs to be named Denali, after that name, you know, the high one, the great one. And a member of Congress wrote back and said Denali is not descriptive enough of the place. So they named it Mount McKinley National Park, and the mountain becomes Mount McKinley, right? We get to 1980. That is when the park expanded. We chatted about that. And that's when it became 6 million acres. That is when the park was named Denali National Park, but the mountain remained McKinley. So the state of Alaska embarks throughout the late 80s and 90s, I believe. They embark on trying to legally change the name of that mountain back to the original name, Denali. And essentially what keeps happening is there's a member of Congress, and do we have anyone from Ohio on the bus today? Shout out to you folks. This is actually, I find this story so funny and so entertaining. So there's a Congress member from Ohio. That's where William McKinley was from. And he keeps blocking that from happening legislatively because he wants the tallest mountain in North America to remain named after someone from Ohio. So he keeps blocking the state of Alaska from letting that go through. Eventually the state of Alaska more or less is like, okay, whatever. We'll call it Denali anyway. And then in 2016, Secretary of the Interior Sally Jewell reinstates that original name, Denali, that was long before the gold miners ever got up here, right? So we've got thousands of years of native history, not only in Denali, but throughout Alaska. And then last year, per executive order, the name of the mountain has reverted to Mount McKinley. So if history tells me anything, I'm not a historian by training, but if history tells me anything, I think it'd be pretty reasonable to suspect that that name might flip-flop more in the future, right? And what's important to realize is that, you know, I already mentioned to you folks today, I don't care what you call that mountain. Old habits die hard. I think Denali's a prettier name. I call it Denali. And names do matter, you know. It matters especially for the native folks in this area who had a lot of their culture erased. And the name Mount McKinley and McKinley National Park will also always be a part of this history. That's how history works, right? So, regardless of what you call that, what you call the area, listen, I've got bigger fish to fry than to worry about what you're calling the park. But I will say, some folks asked me, especially last year, what is the sentiment, you know, among the community? I cannot speak for the full community, but I can say, at least anecdotally, my experience is I have not met one person from this local community here. And we have year-round communities here in Denali. We've got very, very strongly committed people to this place, including myself, even if I'm not here all year. We're very committed to this place. And I've actually not heard one person start calling it Mount McKinley again, because we live and work with Native Alaskans. You guys met Shirley and James, you know, you guys met the people that we live and work with. So in Alaska, you're going to be harder pressed to find folks who are from this state calling it McKinley, but whatever, call it what you gotta call it, you know. I suspect it's gonna flip and flop as history continues on. So I didn't plan on telling you the history, but since somebody asked, there's the answer. And now when you hear those different names, you kind of have an understanding. So as we continue driving, we're going to cross this Savage River again. I'm going to go slow along the bridge because it's just such a gorgeous view out there. And since we're getting such good visibility, if you guys look out to the right side, we're looking at the mountains at about like maybe 2-3 o'clock. Do you guys see those really sharp, jaggedy mountains way up there through the drainage? Yep. Yeah, so it's called Fang Mountain. It almost looks like fangs out there. And you know, this is the Denali National Park tour. It's not the Missy tour, so I do try to make sure that this is about Denali, but I will say the most harrowing backcountry patrol I ever had was out to Mount Fang, that sharp, jaggedy mountain. And as you all know, folks who've experienced the backcountry, I've got a ptarmigan. Yeah, I've got a ptarmigan who's crossing in front of me, so we'll wait for him. Why? It's actually why did the ptarmigan cross the road moment. All right, left side of the bus, you'll see him. Looks like his lady is over here in the shrubs to the right. Oh, they are so goofy. Yeah, the male's to the left, the female to the right. Yeah, so we're seeing the location of my most harrowing backcountry patrol, and those of you who are hunters or outdoors folks or just lived lives, you all know how this goes. You know, everything is right until it goes wrong, and that was how that patrol went. Long story short, I'll just give you the bullet point version. We were doing maintenance on a sound station, and it's up and down below Mount Fang, and it was July. This was a few years ago. Typically it doesn't snow in July, but it did. And but we woke up that morning to go do our patrol. We had 50-mile-an-hour winds on the ridge lines that flattened us. We had a giant bull moose run toward us, but then he was running away from something, and that it doesn't inspire confidence when you see a giant bull moose with huge antlers just running as fast as he can toward you down the river bar away from something. And then we came face to face with a mama grizzly bear and her 2 big cubs that were almost the size of her. And you know, we had a moment of a stare down. That always gets the blood pumping. And then I stepped down, climbing up to Mount Fang, and a bee shot out of the shrubs and stung me next to my eye, and my face started swelling up. It was just classic, you know. It's everything that could go wrong did. We went back to camp that night with our tails between our legs, and we woke up to several inches of snow. Somehow we got that patrol done, but Denali is nothing if not a humbling landscape. You think you have plans? Not here. So I'm going to jump off the mic. You guys have listened to a lot of words from me today, and this is your 6 million acre national park. I want you to have some free space to think your own thoughts without me just yapping at you, because I know what you guys are about to experience. I know you're going on a cruise, and I know that you're going to have a lot of people pontificating, explaining, a lot of jokes that you never wanted to hear. So I'm going to give you a little bit of free space, and I'll probably jump on the mic in 5 or 10 minutes, or when we see wildlife. You know the drill. Yell stop if or when you see wildlife, and then if it's a big animal like a moose, then we'll just stay quiet. Are campers allowed to drive in the park now? So up until, I think it's 2 days of the 15th, and this is the beginning of the season every year, private vehicles can drive up to mile 30. So that person is not camping in the park, they just happen to be in an RV. Other than that, after the 15th, the only traffic allowed past that bridge that we just crossed, the Savage River Bridge, the only vehicles that are allowed are National Park Service vehicles, maintenance vehicles, buses like us, and a couple of other exceptions. But for all intents and purposes, in 2 days, that camper will not be driving in the park.